Welcome to Driven by Dreams. Today's guest is Kimberly Evans, a fourth-generation entrepreneur and the powerhouse behind Just Her Rideshare, a woman-centered rideshare company where safety, comfort, and community come first. Kimberly brings decades of business leadership across industries like fashion, software, sales, and customer support. Before diving full-time into entrepreneurship in 2011, she spent over 20 years at the U.S. Postal Service, excelling in client support, operations, and management. With a deep passion for service, Kimberly not only leads with vision, she mentors young entrepreneurs, volunteers in her community, and speaks publicly on business, resilience, and purpose. Her story, rooted in humble beginnings and personal perseverance, is one of grit, heart, and building something meaningful from the ground up. You're in for a powerful conversation. Let's dive in. Hi, Kimberly. It's wonderful to have you here.
Hi, Anishka. It's so nice to be here with you.
So, could you share a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I always like to start with who I am and then what I do. So, who I am is a servant of others. I am a wife of over 28 years. I'm a mom of 3 sons and 1 grandson. I am a fourth generation entrepreneur, and I get to serve with the new company that I founded as founder and CEO of Just Her Rideshare. We are a women-centric rideshare community prioritizing women's safety, comfort, and empowerment. So a little bit about me and what I do.
Well, that's amazing. So, what inspired you to firstly become an entrepreneur and then go into rideshare industry?
Yeah, so I am, I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur, so it's kind of in my blood. I also had a 21-year career as well with the U.S. Postal Service, but entrepreneur has always been something a part of my life, a part of my family's life, my grandparents. And so I knew at some point I wanted to become a full-time entrepreneur, which I did in the I started businesses in the early 90s. I didn't become a full-time entrepreneur until 2011. But I was introduced to the rideshare industry. I knew nothing about it other than the fact when I was introduced, it resonated with me right away because I was my own customer. I grew up stranger danger and I had never taken a rideshare. So I was first attracted to it that way as a business opportunity. And then I wanted to see if there were other women who felt like I did about the industry and that wanted options.
How did your background prepare you for entrepreneurship, especially in such a competitive space?
Yeah, so my background, again, as a business owner of over 3 decades, I learned a long time ago how to build the infrastructure of a company. So I knew a lot about business ownership and entrepreneurship. I knew how to put teams together. I knew how to surround myself by people who were better at things, had more expertise. But one of the things that I didn't know was how to raise capital. I did not have that experience because my husband and I were always fortunate enough, and even prior to marriage, I was always fortunate enough to bootstrap my own businesses. So I was prepared for the most part, but I wasn't prepared for raising capital. So that was new for me.
How have you approached funding so far?
So funding has been extremely difficult as a woman. Raising capital, in particular for the type of company that I'm building, which requires lots of money, in particular around VC dollars, angel investing, and it has been extremely difficult as a woman and then as a minority woman when statistically we know that most of the funding, very little funding, go to us from venture capitalists. And so we started out bootstrapping the company. I have a lot of money invested in the company, over $100K of my own money, but I wanted to see if we had a product market fit. Again, I was very uncomfortable with raising capital. I barely even knew what a cap table was when I started. And so we went that route, and then we did pitch competitions and grants until we really figured out that we had a product market fit. And then when I got out there and I started really fundraising, I realized that it was essentially the hardest thing that I've had to do so far in the company.
So, what did that journey look like in terms of aligning investors with your mission?
Yeah, so I think we were telling a really great story. We were telling a story of how women were uncomfortable, how women wanted to have options to choose, how we experience riding with others. The storytelling was there. We wanted to also connect on a mission level, a social impact level, where we wanted to solve transportation problems, not just be a ride to the airport, but serve women who were impacted by social issues like domestic violence, sexual assault, women in transportation deserts, marginalized communities. So the storytelling part of what we're doing in the mission has been very, very easy. It aligns a lot with what people see, in particular women. Sometimes it's a little challenging for men because they think that we're just another Uber, or because we don't identify with fear or discomfort the same way. And so they don't know that it's a big enough problem. But from our perspective as women, we know that when we get into someone's car and we don't feel comfortable, sometimes it can be a physiological impact like stress and anxiety. And so we've been able to just tell a great story. And when men identify with us, with their daughters and their wives and their moms, then it becomes more real to them versus them just hopping into the back of a rideshare company. So, and that has helped us.
It's really inspiring how you guys started that based on that mission.
Yes.
So, what advice do you have for founders who want to start funding early on in their journey?
I would say hold off on funding as long as you can. Make sure that you're ready for fundraising. Make sure that you first have a product market fit, whatever that looks like. If it's your prototype, if it is your case studies, make sure that someone wants what you're building before you start to take investor dollars. Because once you do, you no longer become, or I would say you're no longer a CEO of a company or the founder of the company, but you become a manager of other people's money, and you are responsible for how that money is allocated, spent, invested, used. And so just be very careful. Make sure that you want investment dollars. There are other ways to build companies through grants, through pitching, through accelerator programs that will give you funding to figure out your product market fit. So I would say not necessarily an early stage unless you have a secret sauce or something that's just going to take over the world and be a unicorn, but those don't happen that often. So I say take your time, figure it out first, and then you will know when it's time. When you're ready to take dollars, investment dollars, you will know because your business where it is kind of superseding where you are. Like your customers are, you're getting more customers, you're getting more opportunities, and then you will know you need funding to scale.
Well, thank you for sharing that. What are some core management principles that you carry into your work as a founder?
I would say I'm still learning and evolving as a leader, right? So I've always led teams. I've always, been a leader in my company, but I've never built a company on this scale before, and I have never led or been an example for people who, like we have people who operate on a very high level. With me, with my board of advisors, these are people that have more experience and more expertise. And I'm learning every day, evolving as a leader. One of the management tools that I use is to create a great company culture, to let people be free to evolve and grow, find ways for people to have the freedom to evolve and grow. Just for a perfect example, there was someone on my team at one time where she was operating in a space that wasn't conducive for the growth of the company. Instead of just saying, this is not for you, we're done, we had a conversation and we figured out where she could best perform. And sometimes it's about changing systems and not always trying to change people. Sometimes we just have people operating in different spaces. So I always learn as a core management tool to just make sure that you're understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your team, create a great company culture where people can evolve and grow. And that way you will eventually know when they're in the wrong place or even in the wrong company. But you do have to make sure that you're giving that room and that opportunity for them to evolve.
Have you ever dealt with someone who wasn't in the right company, it wasn't the right fit for them, and how were you able to approach that situation?
Um, yeah, just as I was saying, perfect example. Someone in our company was operating in the wrong space, but once we talked about it and we saw where she could flourish, then we shifted her, and we thought because it was a management position, but we found out that she didn't have the best leadership skills. Right? Not everybody can be a leader. I always say, in order to be a good leader, you have to first be a good follower. Right? You have to understand both sides. And so we talked about it, and I said, and she agreed, I think you would be better here. And if you're willing to make that shift, then we're willing to shift with you. And she got into that position and she flourished. It was right where she was comfortable. She was not an out front person. She was more introverted, but very, very skilled and very passionate about her work, very creative. But she was leading teams when she was having anxiety just showing up for meetings. So, and it was my job to figure out and to help her figure out where it was, where the best place for her was.
So, with safety being a top priority at Just Her, how do you ensure quality assurance across drivers and rider experiences?
Well, first of all, women are less likely to perpetrate crimes against each other statistically overall. Most perpetrated crimes, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, are male on female. Now, that's not rideshare, that's just in general. So that involves domestic violence and things like that. But when you pair women together, you are mitigating risk factors from unlawful crimes, from sexual assault. There are some women who lure other women into, like sex trafficking, prostitution, and things like that. But very seldom do you see that, in particular in our industry. So we are mitigating those risk factors. So that's one safety feature that we don't necessarily have to worry about, even though we don't take it lightly. We background check all of our women just for specific reasons. There are some women that can lure you off for robbery. There's all kinds of unlawful crimes that can be committed, so we want to be careful. But overall, when you put women together, we're more apt to build community than to harm each other. So we're mitigating those safety risks there, for one. The other thing is that even though we're a community of women drivers and riders for the most part, we also compare photos. So the driver has a photo. We don't use avatar. We want the customer to know who the driver is, but we also want to protect the driver to know who the driver is picking up as well, because we know that on a lot of other platforms, there's a switch and bait. I just heard this the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact, that a customer called for one of the rideshare platforms. The car showed up, the tag was the same, but the person driving was not. So we want to avoid situations like that. That can be unsafe.
Well, thank you for sharing that. What systems or metrics do you use to measure service quality, and how do you respond when things don't exactly meet your standards?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, because when I left the U.S. Postal Service in 2011, actually in 2008, I built my own call center around quality assurance and client support. I'm a big time obsessed with my customer. I love customer success. I love customer discovery. I love journey mapping. I love understanding personas. Because I feel like there are somewhat four quadrants to your customer. If you are a service-based company or product-based, and in many cases you kind of have to sell yourself as well in some cases. But if you don't understand how to first acquire a customer, to convert a customer, to ascend a customer, and then to retain a customer, then you're not going to know the customers that are coming and growing in your company. And so I measure success by that, exactly by the four quadrants. If we have converted you and you're taking one ride, then it's my job to see if I can get you to take 3 rides. If you are only using us during a certain season of the year, then I want to figure out how we can incorporate other times. And a lot of that comes with messaging. A lot of that comes with being connected with your customers. And so I measure success that way. And because we have drivers Customers and drivers are our revenue drivers. We have to keep both our driver and our customers kind of in the same category. So the same way that we keep driver churn down, we try to keep the same with our customer churn as well.
Well, you shared a bit of this already, but what role does feedback from women play in shaping the app and the user experience?
So we were building a great MVP. It was, my tech team would always say, you want it to be perfect. And I would say, no, I just want it to work. I just want it to work really well. But we put together a really MVP. But later on, I found out that even in your MVP, it is the simplest form that you have to let people test, because you don't want to build something no one wants. And so we focused on just getting our MVP out and then listening to our customers and our drivers. Our customers and our drivers told us exactly how to build the app that we have now. And we partnered with a larger company to help us scale the back end of our app. But we had to listen to some things that we thought that customers would like, that it would be a great user experience. They never even used. So we said, let's just buckle down. Let's not focus on the cute, everything we want perfect. Let's focus on what works and what gets us to scale.
You mentioned your partnership with a bigger company to help your app. What other partnerships have played a role in your growth, whether with organizations, brands, or governments?
Absolutely, great question. So we are a very mission-driven company. We are a for-profit company, but we are huge on social impact, because when we look at transportation, we look at it on a macro level. We don't look at it as just a ride to the airport, because again, earlier I said transportation is a problem in all aspects, in all sectors. And so our goal is to be able to move people and move them safely. So we partner with nonprofit organizations that provide high school kids to get to a tech hub that have lack of transportation. We partner with organizations that support women and families going through transitional housing that need to get back and forth to work. We partner with local urban organizations. We partner with organizations that support women who are human and sex trafficked. So we have a lot of those partnerships that have become a reoccurring, not only reoccurring revenue, but given us a real sense of drive in the community and how we really want to serve the community. So it's important for us to make sure that we're staying connected, and that at the end of the day that we're solving transportation problems. That's the number one goal.
You said that your service is very grounded in the community's needs. So how do you also stay ahead of industry trends while doing that?
Well, here's the thing. There are some people that want to shoot for the stars. There are some people that want to be the unicorn, or they want to be the next Apple or Google or Uber. But sometimes it matters to be slow and steady, because when you're slow and steady, then you can understand along the way the needs of the community. When you become so big, you can lose focus of who your customers are, what the pain points are, what they need. And so we've been able to, and we're still an early stage company. We're nowhere near the more robust industry leaders, but we have found our place in the market, and we're growing because we are community driven, and so we're seeing the needs of the community. So we're Ride to the Airport, but we're also a community of women, a trusted network of women supporting each other and taking care of each other, whether that is a ride to the airport or it's to a doctor's appointment,
Well, thank you for clarifying that. Can you share a book, podcast, or resource that has impacted your career?
Yes, so I will tell you one of the first books that I read is called The Lean Startup. So this was one of the books that I read that impacted my career. It talked, it was very poignant in of how you should be as a startup. The other one was The Cold Start by Andrew Chen, which is a really great book that helped me to see how the bigger companies like the Instagrams and the LinkedIns and all of those companies started, and how they had to build and the things that they had to overcome, hitting the ceiling and becoming too big too soon, and a lot of those. And now I'm reading, I'm on a book called Traction that's talking about how to sort of build teams and how to manage teams. And so I'm always looking to improve who I am as a leader. I'm an audio person though. I don't have a chance to really, sometimes I do, but for the most part I'm audio because I'm so busy doing so many different things. So yeah.
How do you manage fear, uncertainty, and risk as a founder?
Ooh, great question. It comes with the territory, right? There are times when you're very uncertain. I've been very uncertain many times. I've had to move with fear. Fear is an emotion, and I feel like that you can control, or either you let it control you. Many times I've had to step out when I was afraid, and you just do it anyway, and you have the confidence that at the end of the day it's going to work out for your good, whether it's a good decision or a bad decision. I think I have enough in me to be able to recover from it. The one thing that I do try to do, though, is not make costly lessons that lead, that cause setbacks and things that will impact not only me, but our team, our customers. But you just have to do it afraid. You have to, step out, and you have to not let fear or anxiety or uncertainty control you. Make the best decision that you have, that you can with the knowledge that you have at that time. And then if it is not the right decision, then you will learn from it, you will grow from it, it will become a lesson and not a failure.
Well, thank you for talking about that. Were there any mentors in your life that helped you with this early on?
Yes, I mean I've had mostly. Well, actually, I have not had a mentor in the traditional terms mentor. I've really thought about it. I've been praying about having a mentor, but I've had a lot of founder friends, and I've had a lot of people in my community to pour into me. I've had a lot of resources that I could lean into in my ecosystems to help me. But I have not had, like, some people will have a mentor and they'll be their mentor forever. I've not had that. I could really use a mentor, but I've had great resources to really help guide me in my career and building this company.
So I think this is a good place to start wrapping this up. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Ooh, the best piece of advice I've ever received. Oh wow. I would say to trust myself, right? To have enough confidence in knowing, you got to spend the time working on yourself as well. But there has to come a point in time where you have to trust yourself. You have to trust the decisions that you make. Being an entrepreneur, and I recently did a presentation at an organization called Dress for Success on the difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. And there are different paths, and they're both are fulfilling and can be rewarding, but also have their struggles. But you have to make sure that you are, taking, like, for example, I talked about taking risks at different stages of your life. But even with the risk that I took at 21, I don't take at my age now. There's a difference because there's seasons to life. But at some point, you have to trust the decisions that you make with the best information that you have. And when you do that, whether it is a good decision or a bad decision or indifferent, you have to know that within yourself you will recover, and you will make it. I mean, you'll do something different the next time. It'll be a learning lesson. So I would say the best advice is to trust myself.
Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing your journey and insights.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to finally get to meet you, and I appreciate the conversation, and I wish you well.